लाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश कारिणे। Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, great. So, as Prabhuji mentioned, the quality which we are going to discuss today is akinchana, devotees without any possessions. Uh, yeah, as I was like thinking about this topic, I was just thinking I have so many possessions, so many things, and like having so many things, how it clutters our mind with uh, so many stuff. Like I have so much stuff which I do not use. It's just there in the background. It also clutters the mind space. But as contrast to that, when we think of our acharyas and how they lived, like they literally lived without any possessions, which kind of seems very, very difficult. So again, uh, just before starting, I wanted to mention uh, whatever I'm speaking is just from different acharyas, Bhagavatam, classes of Radhanath Maharaj. I do not have any personal realizations, and forgive me if I say anything wrong. So when I like when I thought about akinchana, devotees without any possessions, the first thing which I thought was the Goswamis are six Goswamis. Like all of them were so detached and they literally didn't have any material possessions at all. They begged for alms and had prasadam of whatever they got. They had minimal clothing to cover their bodies. Many of them stayed without proper housing, and many of them came from a very glorious backgrounds, like Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami were having a wealthy ministerial position which they just gave up to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then later they just lived in Vrindavan, having no fixed residence, sleeping very minimal, like what, 1.5 hour, 2 hours every day. And they would just sleep under a tree. That too for Sanatan Goswami, he would sleep under a different tree every night, just spend their whole time discussing Krishna Katha, chanting Krishna's holy names. And Sanatan Goswami just used to bake some wheat flour, roll it into balls, just add some Yamuna water, and just bake it on the coals, offer it to his Lord, dear mother, deity of Madan Mohan, and eat it like that without any salt, without any spice, just eat it. So all of these Goswamis had like given up totally all kinds of material possessions and all material enjoyments, and they had accepted the poorest way of life, just living as mendicants. They ate just enough so that their bodies are maintained. So yeah, these acharyas, like we can see how glorious they are, and they literally exhibited what the Bhagavatam tells. Like Bhagavatam spoke about this few thousand years ago, and all these acharyas have lived the same thing few hundred years ago, which does sound impossible to us, but we see how the acharyas exemplified it. Again, this level of not possessing anything is very hard to achieve for us. And we will, in this class, try to discuss both some stories of exalted devotees, which can be just inspiration from us. And then we will also discuss some practical discussions like what can we learn from this and what can we implement in our life from this. So, I'm going to start with a question first. Do not try to overthink it. Do not try to give the right answer. Just give a moment and you can have in your mind whatever first comes to your mind. Okay. So now let's go to the question. So imagine there is an emergency, some kind of emergency. You need to run out of your house, leaving behind everything. But you have time to take only three things. What would you take?
So these are things, not people.
Not people, just things.
Passport
All.
for sure.
Yeah, you can keep it in your mind right now. Like just think
Okay.
about it.
Yeah.
Now I want you to think like whatever, if you have like thought about the three things which you will take, think about why you are choosing it. Why those particular three things. We can also kind of reflect on what those choices say about us. So why are we depending on those things for security, identity, or anything else? So try to think about why those three things. Okay, Lekha Mataji says that gonna sound cringe, but what came up to my mind were small Krishna and small Narsiha and phone. That's an amazing answer, Lekha Mataji. Uh, like you're already very well aligned that you want to you want to take Krishna with you. That's perfect. Do you want to say why, Lekha Mataji? Elaborate on why those three things.
Um, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry, can
Hare
you hear
Krishna.
me? Yeah, two, three things because I don't know. I mean, I think like for me, I mean, they are not really things, but they are like living entities. So I don't want to like
Mhm.
leave them behind if I have to like if there is an emergency. Um, so I need to have them with me, and I can't leave them behind my phone so that anything so that it's just like any contact or next best step is to always have my phone with me.
Makes
And
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, phone is something we can never forget. We need to have our phone. Probably a charger as well.
Yeah.
That's very nice answer. Anyone else would like to answer? I think there are a few answers in the chat. Suvan Mataji says my Radha Krishna deities, passport, OCI, and clothing change. Totally makes sense, Mataji. Clothing change was interesting. So you're thinking about you're planning few things as well.
Of course, phone is important. Yes, I will take phone also. That will become fourth thing. But
Yeah. Phone is something we cannot forget, yes. Uh, Krishan Prabhu says phone, passport, and password sheet. So is the password sheet something where you are storing all of your passwords, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, I write it in a sheet of paper right next to my computer. So all my passwords are there. And if I don't have it, then I don't know what I'm doing. I can't log into anything.
Wow, that's very interesting. Password sheet was a very interesting answer. Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu is asking sleepers will count one as one or two. I mean, yeah, sure. If you think of like sleepers as important, definitely. Uh, Nupur Mataji is saying over the top of my head, suitcase, my bag that I carry to the college, and phone. So are you going to go to college after running from home, Mataji?
No, Broji, my bag has all the stuff.
So you're already packed. You don't have to worry. You can just pick
And the
your bag
suitcase
and
has
go.
documents.
Oh, wow. Yeah, documents. I think I see like all of us like our
No, it didn't
main
come
thing.
to my head until Jagannath Gopal Prabhu said passport for sure.
I mean, for us, passport totally makes sense. Living in a foreign land, that's our main identity. Nitya
Yeah.
Kishori Mataji is also saying her infamous bag along with its cover. What does that mean?
So my bag has two rainbows. Like, yeah.
Oh, oh, nice. Yeah, and anyone else would like to share about the whys of what they choose?
Yeah, I would also, I mean, first thing that it came to my mind was my purse, which has
Okay.
everything, including my phone, all inclusive. And interestingly, password, the password is the sheet is the amazing one. I'm borrowing ideas now. But the first thought was my purse and my passport. And a third thing I couldn't figure out, but I was thinking JBS.
That's very sweet.
That's all came to my mind. Yeah.
That's very sweet, Mataji. So yeah, it is kind of interesting the way we see like when we think like what is the most important. We might have so many favorite clothes at home which we would really think like okay, this is important for me. I won't like uh even if there is one stain, I'll get disturbed or something like that. And then here we have all exalted devotees, but in general, the people can have such things. And but when it comes like to the matter of life and death, what we choose at that time really see, like what are the really important possessions? Like everyone I can see was choosing their phone, passport was one more common thing, and here everyone being devotees, like deities was also one common thing. So it also kind of says about like what we depend on for security and identity. So like everyone depends on phones and passports for security, and I think being devotees, everyone was carrying their deities, so that was very sweet. So yeah, that was just a quick activity to as a starter. And there is one more activity now. The- We were focusing on more material aspects of possessions till now. Now I want to go a little bit deeper and let you choose from this more subtle possessions. So if you see there is this pool of subtle possessions of how you would like to be seen from by society, by community. And I would want again you to just choose any three of these, any three from the pool. Take your time. And also think of why you are choosing those. And when you're choosing those, remember that you're not choosing the others.
So we can choose only one, you said, or
Three, you can choose three, Prabhu.
three out of these? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
three out of these. Yeah.
But what if I'm not spiritually advanced? Can I pick that?
Sure, bro. It only depends on how you want society to see you.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Sorry.
So you can choose that as well. Whatever you feel, like whatever you want, three of them. And you are not choosing the others when you are choosing the three. There might be some overlaps, but overall. Anyone ready? Anyone who wants to say what they chose and why they chose?
And I have only one.
Only one, Prabhu. Amazing.
Yeah,
What
I
is
have
it?
I have good friends and devotees around me.
Wow. That's interesting. And do you want to give a why of it?
Why? Because I think that's the most important thing. Everything else doesn't seem very financially stable. Also, I can take, but I don't really care about how others perceive me.
Right.
Yeah, so
So it's
that's an
great. So you're
interest.
already you're detached, Prabhu. You're already there, what we are discussing.
I'm not sure about that, Prabhu. Maybe it's wishful thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Krishna Babu, I was going to say that I don't know how to define good friends, but definitely my wish would be to be surrounded by in association with devotees. And discipline is another thing that is my favorite thing. Uh, right from childhood, I like to be disciplined and organized. But yeah, being in association with devotees is acquired interest.
That's nice. Yeah. Anyone else? So here we can be like honest. Like we don't have to give like the right answer. It can be like whatever is really important for us.
For me, I want to be uh, intelligent, disciplined, and calm under pressure. The reason why I chose these are, I think these are the things I don't possess and would like to possess.
Wow. Nice. I would like to learn it from you, Mother. Okay, but yeah, so I just wanted this activity so that we know that there are possessions at different levels. We do have possessions which are material possessions, and then we have social possessions, psychological possessions, more subtle emotional level possessions that I want to appear like this. I am such an intelligent person, and these different kind of these different labels kind of create our identities, which also becomes possessions. So when we are saying that a devotee is without any possessions, they are without any material, physical, psychological, social, or without any of those possessions. So yeah, just something to reflect on. And yeah, so here I just wanted to define a subtle possession. So a subtle possession is anything that the mind uses to manufacture a stable I and mine. So giving the illusion of control over happiness and distress. Because when we are trying to have any possession, we are not hoping that this possession will give us distress or sadness. We are hoping that I want more money so that my future will be stable. I want education. Whatever possessions we have, we are having it only because they promise some comfort and security of the future and happiness. So, and also many of them create a more illusory identity of us. So we will explore more on that. But going forward, I just wanted to reflect that whatever we had listed before, for example, is being healthy or well groomed a subtle possession? So it depends on the consciousness. When you are taking care of the body as an instrument for the service of the Lord, then it is not a possession really. You are just being a caretaker of the body. And when you maintain the health like a maintenance of a vehicle, so that it can be used for service, for good things, then there is no identity built on it. But it becomes a subtle possession when I think that I am valuable because I look like this. I feel unsafe if I lose this appearance. Then you're kind of defining yourself based on these psychological conceptions, and then you're kind of having it as a possession. So it's externally, all of those things are looking very similar, but internally they can be totally different. So just I wanted to give that thing, and now we can go deeper into these topics as we discuss in the class further. Uh, so now we discussed a few things. Now we will go to the today's main story. The character which we are going to discuss today lost their wealth,
Yeah.
l- lost their respect, lost all relationships, security, control, everything they depended upon had completely collapsed. And they did not just lose from one category, they lost every category we discussed right now. So, can anyone guess whom we are going to discuss today?
Avanti Brahmin?
Yes, that is exactly right, bro.
Oh, thank you.
So, I'll just quickly
So,
start with
Soham
the.
Prabhu, your screen is not full screen, Prabhu. We are seeing the top part also. Can you somehow
I,
make it full screen so that we can see?
yeah, bro, Prabhu, if I try to make it full screen, I lose my notes somehow. Like,
Oh,
I don't know
because
how to do
okay,
that.
okay, okay. Please continue because we're not seeing it's cut off. Oh, okay, this is better. This is better.
This is better?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it. Okay. Okay. So I'll just quickly narrate the story of the
Actually,
Avan. Yeah.
just one quick thing to fix that, Prabhu, you can zoom out. Um, so your zoom, the screen share that Soham Prabhu has now, you can zoom out on that. So you can, if you have an Apple, you can go on the screen share and then you can, with two fingers, go up or down
Oh,
on your
let me
mouse
check.
pad, and then it will give you a zoom thing, percent zoom. So you can zoom out there and you can see the whole screen like that.
Yeah, now it's fixed, Prabhuji. Initially, वो screen ही छोटी आ रही थी. Like
अच्छा अच्छा
the
oh
नीचे वाला
okay
part was cut. Yeah,
अच्छा
thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'll continue for now, bro. And then see.
yeah sorry for the interruption.
No problem, bro. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just start with the story. So Lord Krishna himself is narrating this story to his dear devotee Uddhava, and he just wants to explain a deep practical truth that how a sincere spiritual practitioner should tolerate loss of honor and material possessions in this world. And to illustrate this, he narrates an ancient story. Uh, and the story is very human and very relatable in a way. So, in the land of Avanti, there was once living this Brahmana who was very, very wealthy. He had all material opulences. He had good land, money. He was into trade, commerce, and he was also engaged in agriculture. But despite this external prosperity, his inner condition was very opposite to that. He was very greedy, very miserly, and he used to get angry very easily, and his health had hardened his heart further. He never used his wealth for any higher purpose. He never spent it on any religious duty, nor he did not even enjoy his wealth properly. Even basic responsibilities were neglected by him. He did not take care of his family members. He did not welcome his guests properly. Uh, he was so miserly that he did not even take care of his bodily needs. And he lived like a hoarder, guarding his wealth, always anxious, always fearful, and completely disconnected from generosity or affection. So, because of this harsh and selfish nature, the atmosphere of his home had also become quite cold and hostile. His wife, sons, daughters, daughter in laws, relatives, everyone lost affection for him. And they felt very like neglected. They did not feel any love from him. So, eventually, those who should have been his well wishers became indifferent and even inimical toward him. At the same time, by neglecting his prescribed duties, it is described that everyone should take care of these five daily sacrifices, which are meant for demigods, sages, forefathers, living beings, and guests. But he did not take care of any of them. Like he did not welcome his guests properly. He did not do the Shraddha ceremony for his forefathers, did not give alms when sages came at his door. So he unknowingly offended the higher principles of dharma. And because of offending these demigods, the forces that sustain a householder's prosperity became completely displeased at him. And as a result of this, the foundation of his fortune began to fully crumble. And then, as orchestrated by his destiny, his wealth started disappearing in small chunks. And some of it was taken away by his own relatives. The relatives were fed up of him that this person is not going to give us anything anyway, so any chance we get, we are going to grab like steal his wealth. So his relatives stole a lot of wealth, then thieves stole a lot of wealth. Then it is described that some of his wealth was destroyed by natural calamities, like there were fires, there were crop failures, and there were a lot of unforeseen misfortunes which went on taking his wealth away. Some wealth was also lost due to influence of time, and was taken away by government authorities. Like his house, for example, he was not paying taxes for many years. The government authorities came and took away his properties. And so basically, whatever he had accumulated over a lifetime through this endless labor and so much effort, everything had vanished. And when his wealth was finally gone, something even more painful happened. All of his family members completely abandoned him because they did not ever receive any love from him or any support from him. So they felt no obligation to really help him. So now he was left completely alone, completely neglected. And this Brahmana now entered a state of deep anguish. He sat in helpless contemplation, reflecting on his entire life. He was thinking, what have I done? I strived so much for achieving this wealth, and I was so much attached to this wealth. But right now, I don't have any of it. I have lost all of my family members. I have lost all the honor, respect, love. I literally have nothing. So we can just think about it, like he literally went from 100 to 0 and how it would impact him. So at that point, somehow he reflected deeply. It is said that because of whatever pious deeds he had done previously long back, somehow he did not end up like crying or cursing anyone. Rather, he started reflecting. And he said that wealth had given him no happiness in his life. It had only caused endless labor, fear, anxiety, and confusion. It has destroyed his relationships. It had filled his life with negative qualities like greed, anger, etc. And he understood that even a small amount of greed can destroy all good qualities. He further realized a more painful truth about human relationships, that even close relatives can turn into enemies based on trivial money or even based on like conflict. So he lost relationships, he lost faith in that. And his realization even deepened further as he recognized the rarity of human life. He realized that even demigods aspire for such a birth, and he has wasted so much of this human life just hoarding things. Like even animals can like have some kind of material possessions when they can hoard things, they have their boundaries and protection. So I got this such rare human life, and what did I do out of this? So he was thinking all of this, and interestingly, he concluded that the Supreme Lord must have been merciful to him. That's why he lost everything and he was forced to confront the reality. He thought, it is by the Lord's grace that I have been brought to this condition. This suffering has awakened detachment within me, and that detachment is the boat to cross the ocean of material existence. Now, this is the turning point of the story, because what happened externally appears to be misfortune, but internally, he took it as the greatest blessing. With this understanding, he made a firm decision that now he will live a simple life, performing austerities and pursue his true self interest, strive for self realization. So now he became a sannyasi. He was going everywhere, begging alms, and gave up attachment to all the material things and began to wander from place to place. He controlled his senses, mind, speech, and he did not even advertise about his spiritual position. Outwardly, he appeared as ordinary poor old beggar, but internally, now he had very deep spiritual realizations. But this external simplicity invited new suffering. People did not recognize his transformation and they started mocking him. Seeing his rack condition, many cruel and ignorant persons began to insult him. People used to snatch his belongings, his begging bowl, his chanting beads, even his clothes. They would like pretend to return him and again hide them. So people were really troubling him. There were others who used to spit on his head, and when he was sitting to eat whatever he had asked for in alms, people would even pass urine on it. Like he was subjected to all kinds of horrible things. And he had, whenever he had taken the vow of not speaking, people would provoke to speak him to speak, and others would accuse him of being a thief, or they would call that he is such a hypocrite, that he is becoming a renunciant only because he lost everything. So they mocked him. People tied him and beat him. So he was going through all this cruelty, but still he did not react with anger, hatred. Instead, he remained steady like a mountain. He understood that all these experiences were simply the results of his past actions. He saw them as inevitable and accepted them with deep tolerance. And he further reflected deeply on the nature of suffering and the nature of reality itself. How suffering arises, who is really responsible, and what is its true cause. And when he was reflecting at that point, he sang this famous Bhikshu Gita, or the Song of Avanti Brahmana, which is a really, which tells a really deep philosophy. So right now I want a few readers to read this song of the Bhikshu. So anyone would like to read the first two slides? Uh,
I can go.
okay, bravo. Can you see it clearly?
Yes.
Okay, bravo.
The Brahmana said, "These people are not the cause of my happiness and distress. Neither are the demigods my own body, the planets, my past work or time. Rather, it is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and perpetuates the rotation of material life. A powerful mind actuates the functions of the material modes, from which evolve the different kinds of material activities in the modes of goodness, ignorance, and passion. From the activities in each of these modes develop the corresponding statuses of life. Although present along with the struggling mind within the material body, the supersoul is not endeavoring, because he is already endowed with transcendental enlightenment. Acting as my friend, he simply witnesses from his transcendental position. I, the infinitesimal spirit soul, on the other hand, have embraced this mind, which is the mirror reflecting the image of the material world. Thus, I have become engaged in enjoying objects of desire and am entangled due to contact with the modes of nature. Charity, prescribed duties, observance of major and minor regulative principles, hearing from scripture, pious works, and purifying vows all have as their final aim the subduing of the mind. Indeed, concentration of the mind on the Supreme is the highest yoga.
You can read one more slide, bro.
If one's mind is perfectly fixed and pacified, then tell me, what need does one have to perform ritualistic charity and other pious rituals? And if one's mind remains uncontrolled, lost in ignorance, then of what use are these engagements for him? All the senses have been under the control of the mind since time immemorial, and the mind himself never comes under the sway of any other. He is stronger than the strongest, and his godlike power is fearsome. Therefore, anyone who can bring the mind under control becomes the master of all the senses. Failing to conquer this irrepressible enemy, the mind, whose urges are intolerable and who torments the heart, many people are completely bewildered and create useless quarrel with others. Thus, they conclude that other people are either their friends, their enemies, or parties indifferent to them. Persons who identify with this body, which is simply the product of the material mind, are blinded in their intelligence, thinking in terms of I and mine. Because of their illusion of this is I, but that is someone else, they wander in endless darkness.
Thank you, Prabhu. Would anyone else like to read next two slides? I think Nupur Mataji has raised her hand. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji. If you say that these people are the cause of my happiness and distress, then where is the place of the soul in such a conception? This happiness and distress pertain not to the soul, but to the interactions of material bodies. If someone bites his tongue with his own teeth, at whom can he become angry in his suffering? If you say that the demigods who rule the bodily senses cause suffering, still, how can such suffering apply to the spirit soul? This acting and being acted upon are merely interactions of the changeable senses and their presiding deities. When one limb of the body attacks another, with whom can the person in that body be angry? If the soul himself were the cause of happiness and distress, then we could not blame others, since happiness and distress would be simply the nature of the soul. According to this theory, nothing except the soul actually exists. And if we were to perceive something besides the soul, that would be illusion. Therefore, since happiness and distress do not actually exist in this concept, why become angry at oneself or others?
You can continue, Mataji.
And if we examine the hypothesis that the planets are the immediate cause of suffering and happiness, then also where is the relationship with the soul? Who is eternal? After all, the effect of the planets applies only to things that have taken birth. Expert astrologers have moreover explained how the planets are only causing pain to each other. Therefore, since the living entity is distinct from these planets and from the material body, against whom should he vent his anger? If we assume the fruitive work is the cause of happiness and distress, we still are not dealing with the soul. The idea of material work arises when there is spiritual actor who is conscious and a material body that undergoes the transformation of happiness and distress as a reaction to such work. Since the body has no life, it cannot be the actual recipient of happiness and distress, nor can the soul, who is ultimately completely spiritual and aloof from the material body. Since karma, thus, has no ultimate basis in either the body or the soul, at whom can one become angry? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Would anyone else like to read the last two slides?
I can read.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Go ahead.
If we accept time as the cause of happiness and distress, that experience still cannot apply to the spirit soul, since time is a manifestation of the Lord's spiritual potency, and the living entities are also expansions of the Lord's spiritual potency, manifesting through time. Certainly, a fire does not burn its own flames or sparks, nor does the cold harm its own snowflakes or hail. In fact, the spirit soul is transcendental and beyond the experience of material happiness and distress. At whom, therefore, should one become angry? The false ego gives shape to illusory material existence and thus experiences material happiness and distress. The spirit soul, however, is transcendental to material nature. He can never actually be affected by material happiness and distress in any place, under any circumstance, or by the agency of any person. A person who understands this has nothing whatsoever to fear from the material creation. I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of nescience by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. This was approved by the previous acharyas who were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
You can continue, Mataji.
Lord Krishna said, thus becoming detached upon the laws of his property, this sage gave up his moroseness. He left home, taking sannyasa, and began to travel about the earth. Even when insulted by foolish rascals, he remained unswerved from his duty and chanted this song. No other force besides his own mental confusion makes the soul experience happiness and distress. His perception of friends, neutral parties, and enemies, and the whole material life he builds around this perception are simply created out of ignorance.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you all the readers. So, so here we can see how after losing everything, this Avanti Brahmana did a proper intellectual analysis, like what did I really own? What is the reason that I lost all of this? Was it my karma? Was it time? what exactly was it? Was it because of the influence of planets? And he went on canceling out everything. And he concludes that everything is happening as an experience of his mind, and how the false ego is actually creating these different attachments, which are in a way illusion. And the core of his issue is not the loss of the things, but his own false identity. That him being stuck, that him considering that he is this body, mind, because of the false ego. And that has caused all of this, and not the actual incidents where he lost things. So it's a very nice conclusion of how we also get attached to things, and losing things can create a lot of pain. So yeah, with that background, now we can dive further deep. So I wanted to ask this question, that how do we define owning anything? Can anyone want to try this? Okay. Uh, I can
Yes, I
only,
can, Prabhu.
yeah, yeah.
Prabhu, it becomes part of our identity,
Mm.
like
You want
our
to elaborate?
ego.
Like ego?
Yeah, we take an identity, like let's say owning anything, like in terms of people, like relationships, we
Right,
start thinking we take that role. Like
right,
our identity changes. Like let's say if I'm a software developer and I earn certain amount of money, that becomes part of my identity, and I think I own this. Like
right,
I earn X amount of money, so I own this. And if
right,
I lose that, then it's a lot of pain.
right. Very true. So egoistically, as you were saying, we are getting attached to this identity, new identity, and which is changing our own identity. So in a way, we are like putting coats of illusion on ourselves and getting attached to it. And if that layer is getting ripped off, it's a lot of pain for us. Uh, that's a very beautiful answer, Mataji. Okay. Mine is on.
Um,
Suman
uh,
Mataji is saying. Go ahead, bro. Yeah.
Sorry, Suman Mataji says, when we call something mine, is owning.
Yeah, definitely, Mataji. When we are calling something mine, that's owning. Yeah,
I think controllership and ownership go a little hand in hand. Uh,
definitely.
in the sense that all owning involves controlling, but all controlling may not necessarily involve owning. The difference being that in owning, you can control the thing as per your mind's whims, as
Mm,
per the way you want. You can control things, and yeah, yeah. I think controllership is one aspect, I feel.
right. I agree, Prabhu. Like control, but they do have some like commonalities as well. Like they do go a little bit hand in hand. We'll go deeper into that later. Manan Prabhu has also raised hand. You want to?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nice to see you.
So at work, generally we think about ownership in terms of responsibility. It's like if I own an area, that's my area of responsibility,
Right.
and I'm supposed to know everything about that area. So if there's any question, that's the point of contact. So you know that feature or that product very well, and anything happens there, anything, then you're the go-to person. You have to know what's going on there, why is it not working, or what's the next plan for that, and everything.
Makes sense. So your definition is more from responsibility perspective, like having complete knowledge. You are kind of the go-to person of that thing. And even is there's any issue, they will come to you. You will have full knowledge, the next plan about that thing. So that is actually a very nice answer, Prabhu. What you gave is kind of like uh, so the first definition which I'm going to discuss is more material definition, but actually the one you gave kind of relates more spiritually, like how we should be owning things. Like, so yeah, we will go there. Yeah. Uh, okay. So this was one very basic definition, that uh, how do we define owning anything? Uh, if something can be eventually taken away from us, then we are the temporary owners and not the permanent owners. and there is someone else who is the permanent owner. So we can say that actually, like, permanently owning something is that things which won't be taken away from us with the influence of times are the things we really own. So more from like a eternal perspective, because uh, I'm giving this definition because I want to build upon this in the next slide. So considering this definition of owning, like being a permanent owner, we will dive deeper into the next slide. So I wanted to ask, like, again, what do we really own? Like, the first thing which we can think of is we own material wealth and all other things. But here we are giving a very radical statement that a pure devotee has no possessions at all. And that is kind of like our mind immediately resists. It says that that's not practical. We live in the world, we have responsibilities. So we will go deeper into not just external renunciation, but also about internal transformation. So so do we really own this material wealth, material assets? So if we think about something like land, which we own, it existed before we were born and it will also exist after we die. We see so many people conflicting about, like, this is my land and property issues, wealth issues. But at the end, do we really own it? We don't, because we our lifespan is very limited. The land is going to outlive us, and all the material assets, money, property, jewelry, investments, everything. And so that can kind of help us understand that we do not really own anything material that way. The next thing is something like job and business. I don't even need to talk about jobs. All of us are insecure about jobs. We know it is not something permanent. And even for business, for that matters, businesses can be, there can be sudden loss and businesses can stop. So, and then further thing is relationships. Bhagavatam itself explains that how close relatives, parents, friends, everyone can turn against each other over a small conflict or over money. We actually keep seeing that in life regularly. So even relationships are not something we really own. And definitely not the body. The body is going through so many changes. We cannot control the body. Like it is aging from your child. We are, we might be youth and going towards old age. So something that is constantly changing, and a time when will come when it will be completely gone. So we cannot really claim permanent ownership over it. And same with karma as well. If we think about karma, we are kind of like accumulating it so that uh, it will give kind of maybe good, like good karma will give good results. But again, it is going to get exhausted. And it does bind us, create expectations, keeps us in the cycle, and eventually gets exhausted. So we do not own any of these things. Now, the purpose of discussing this was that to go to the point that who is the one that is claiming ownership of these material possessions. uh, because if we are thinking about uh, the the materials which are kind of beyond, like time cannot separate them from us, then at least the owner itself should also be like time proof in a way. So again, a body cannot be a real owner of anything, because it is just a temporary bundle of matter. It has no independent will or permanence. If we think because uh, when a body is dead, it is not going to claim any ownership. So body in itself cannot be an owner of anything. Then, as the Avanti Brahmana says, the soul is the only witness. It simply observes different things, what is going on. It never actually becomes the possessor of anything. So it's not the soul and it's not the body as well. So who is the one that is claiming ownership of things? So it is actually the false ego. The sense of I own this is coming from the false ego, which is working through our mind, and it does not actually have any real ownership. So, so if we think the false ego is just producing this illusion that I am the owner. Therefore, we call ownership is not an objective reality, but a misidentification of consciousness with the body-mind complex. So whenever false ego is appropriating things as mine, even though actually it is truly possessed, nothing is actually truly possessed by anyone in any absolute sense. It's just illusion created by the false ego. This is what Avanti Brahmana is teaching us till now. And now I want to go into some cons of possessions, like what are the problems which come along with material possessions. So they include definitely fear of loss, because now again we have to remember that all of these possessions are possessed by the false ego. False ego is the only one who is creating this illusion of possessions. So as it is itself a false entity, it cannot create any kind of stability, peace. Like God is Satchidananda, but false ego is not. It is not eternal. It is itself kind of in a state of anxiety because it knows that it cannot exist forever. So that is the one who is owning. Now, when it is the owner, which is itself not permanent, it is definitely going to create fear of loss. So, as the Brahmana reflects, wealth is never stable. It can be taken by thieves, relatives, government, time, whatever. So, the very effort to hold something implies its fragility. A businessman always fears that market is going to crash. A homeowner fears theft, disaster, debt, and a devotee with possession fears losing facility for service or reputation. So in a way, if we think the deeper truth is that fear is the shadow of ownership. And the next state, again, next thing is anxiety of maintenance and protection. So possessions do not rest in our hands, they demand constant attention. The Brahmana describes how wealth creates great labor, fear, anxiety, and in earning, protecting, increasing, losing it, in all states, people are in anxiety. For example, a house requires maintenance, insurance, repairs. Similarly, wealth requires guarding, investing, monitoring. And that way, even simple possessions kind of become like a mental background process, consuming a lot of our consciousness. The next thing is conflict with others. Definitely, whenever you have some great things, people get into competition and comparison, which can create conflicts for inheritance, colleagues competing for promotions, nations fighting for land and resources. These things keep happening with possessions. And finally, pride, because pride leads to fall. So possession again inflates the false ego. Initially, it is the false ego who is possessing things, and when you have that possession, it is getting more inflated that I am successful, I am secure, I am superior. But pride is structurally unstable because it is depending on some external support. And Bhagavatam is repeatedly warning us that material opulence destroys humility, distorts identity. So when that support collapses because of time or anything else, the fall of that person is going to be proportionate to the height of their pride. As proud they are, that much they will fall down as well. So, and finally, illusion that this possession is going to satisfy me. The deepest defect is the illusion that possessions will really satisfy the heart. And Brahmana concludes that wealth is ultimately worthless because it neither gives lasting happiness nor liberation. And it also kind of works in this cycle that when you get it, there is this temporary joy, then maintenance is going to cause anxiety, and loss will create suffering. And then again, you are in this cycle, stuck in this cycle. So these are the cons of possessions. So what is the solution for this? We'll also discuss that. So again, going back to our bhakti gives solution for everything. Prabhupada has given these beautiful solutions that as people who are working, who are grihasthas, we need to take care of so many things. We need to have money, we need to own assets. So what do we do? So we need to replace the possession with something else. The tendency to own arises from this deep misunderstanding of identity. As long as the living entity is going to believe that I am this body, mind, uh, then they are going to try to own everything which is in relation with them, like people, objects, achievements. But Avanti Brahmana again teaches us that liberation begins when ownership is replaced by the Krishna centered vision. So the first thing is we are replacing, instead of ownership, we are going to caretaking, seva. So when we say this is mine, we create this artificial bondage. But when we say this is entrusted to me for service, everything becomes a sacred responsibility. Just like a gardener in a temple does not own the garden, but lovingly waters, protects, and offers flowers to the deity. Similarly, a devotee sees his body, family, home, job, and talents as Krishna's garden under his care, if we think about it. So even the Avanti Brahmana realized that my suffering is not mine, it is under the higher arrangement. So even he took suffering as kind of like something that was given to him and not something that was his. So he would be sad about it or he would be happy about it. Then the second thing is stewardship instead of control. So again, control means I decide everything, and stewardship means I am accountable to a higher will. A king rules a kingdom, but a wise king knows he is only a steward of dharma, not the ultimate proprietor. So, if we think in daily life, a manager in a company can either dominate employees or steward their growth for a higher organizational mission. And similarly, a parent can either control a child or guide them as a temporary guardian of a soul belonging to Krishna. So, and next thing is going from entitlement to gratitude. So, entitlement says, I deserve this because I am the doer. But gratitude says that we are not really earning anything. Everything we get is because of mercy of Krishna. So, just remembering that creates a lot of difference. The conditioned mind becomes bitter when expectations are not met. But as we saw in the example of Avanti Brahman, after losing everything, he did not complain. He said that Lord has shown me mercy by removing my false attachments. So again, gratitude helped here. And finally, the last thing is instead of depending on objects for security and happiness, we should be depending on Krishna for our security and happiness. So the deepest transformation is kind of here. Material life is training us to think that if I have the right objects, right resources, I will be secure and I will be happy. But Bhagavatam is again dismantling this illusion that objects are not going to protect nor satisfy the soul. Because again, we need to go deep down into who we really are. The false ego is trying to protect itself, which itself illusory concept and creating more illusion around it, creating more pain. But when we realize that we are not this false ego and we are really the soul whose desire is to connect with Krishna, then we can really depend on Krishna for everything. And the way Avanti Brahmana concluded that wealth cannot protect me, relationships cannot secure me, body and mind cannot sustain happiness. Thus, he shifted that my shelter is only the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So, yeah, yeah, that was a lot of theory and I spoke a lot. So, I hope you guys were following. So, yeah, I wanted to ask this question now because I spoke so much, which was kind of like how material possessions are not really good. But Now I want to ask this question, that in our experience of the world, we often see that material possessions determine a person's power, influence, and respect. Those who lack such possessions frequently struggle for survival and social standing. We always see this in society, that people who do not have money are literally struggling. So, after understanding this philosophy of true owning from a spiritual perspective, how should we properly understand this apparent reality? Any thoughts, perspective on this?
I, I feel that there is external and internal, Prabhu.
Right.
So externally, whatever comes because of our own karma, we should just accept it. And internally, we must understand that we don't own anything and get a sense of detachment.
Hmm. Makes sense, Prabhu. Totally. Yeah, Likha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Guru. I was also gonna mention about the karma point, which is so most of these things are also like externally happening through karma, and I also think uh, with the perspective of like owning, if we are at a position where we can rightfully help or rightfully share support, be it emotional support or in whatever sense, association, financial support in the rightful sense, then Krishna's entrusted us with those resources for us to like for us to like share it with those who are in need. So we should also share that in the form in the mode of service.
Very, very nice realization, Mataji. Thank you for that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Go ahead.
So I'm reading your slide. I've read it a couple of times. I think your question is more about, uh, or at least this is the way I was interpreting it, is that those who lack such positions frequently struggle with survival and social standing.
Right.
And how should we understand this, apparent, um, you know, you know, dichotomy in society where where um, where a person who's not materially attached is actually um, is actually struggling, whereas a person who's materially attached has got enough food to eat and is not struggling. Is that the right way to understand your question, or am I taking it in a wrong direction?
Yeah, bro, like it was kind of like a more of like a open question, but yeah, what you said is kind of right. Like uh someone we always see, like I think as a devotee, though we practical like at a level we understand that possessions are something like more illusory and they are going to bind us, but still the, as you said, the dichotomy is there, that in this world we see people are who do not have money or power are struggling. uh, like not necessarily like I'm saying someone who doesn't even have like food to eat, but even if you are just doing good, if you are, the people who have more wealth can get around so many things, like, but people who do not have that much wealth, that much power, that much influence are struggle at so many levels. Like we always see this, like money always remains an important aspect of life. So that's why the question was like, how do we kind of balance both of these things?
Right,
That
right.
makes
No,
sense.
it's a fantastic question. Obviously, it's a good thing to think about. Those who are, I'm just assuming here that those who are genuinely Krishna conscious, if you take Krishna consciousness on one scale, let's say on a y-axis, and then if you take material opulence on the x-axis, material opulence and actually as a corollary for suffering in the
Right.
x-axis. The people who are who are suffering and happen to be Krishna conscious, obviously my answer is very academic and theoretical. They probably see, like just like the Avanti Brahmana, that the suffering is just Krishna's way of guiding them into through this world. and and the and the people who are suffering and who are not Krishna conscious probably suffer more because they don't have this bigger picture realization. Um,
That's a very
you
nice
know,
perspective, bro. Yeah.
yes, and actually, I came up with this only from your class, Prabhu, which is a good realization that I think we have come that just from your class, Prabhuji.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for sharing it. So yeah, Jagannath Gopal, bro, you can go ahead.
So here we are like making a subtle distinction between material possessions and a person's power, influence, and respect, right?
Right.
So we are saying that material possessions determine a person's power, influence, and respect. And
Yeah.
then people who do not have material possessions, they struggle.
Right.
But and then in your previous slide, we saw, the formula of how to see material possessions. But
Right.
then if when I look at this, I feel that even the power, influence, and respect is also an extended material possession at the end of the day. It is
Totally,
not
bro.
something different. It is an extended, it is a material possession at the end of the day. Power, influence, and respect. So why not apply that same formula for these things as well? Instead of owning that power, you know. So that's what the kings did, right? Instead of owning the influence and things like that. Yeah, that is what I feel. And yeah, it takes some introspection also, like just saying that, oh, material possessions will bind me, but then if I really need it, if somebody, let's say, needs that influence, somebody needs that power to operate, right?
Right.
So I guess inherently we can try to stop seeing these as inherently negative,
Right.
right? There is this often within the devotee society also, there is often like, okay, possessions by default negative, power
Right.
by default negative, influence by default negative, you have yearning for respect by default, it's a negative, amani na man dena, you throw a verse straight at the face, right? So but then I guess it's not inherently negative, it's how we try to utilize it
Yeah.
is what makes the difference. So I guess that is what true owning would mean. Yeah, just some of my thoughts, Prabhu.
Totally makes sense, bro. Yeah. Thank you for sharing it. Manan, bro, I think you had also hand raised.
So my experience is a little different.
Right.
What I found is I know a few people who own very little and they have very little struggle for survival and social standing. And I know some people who own a lot and they have a lot of struggle still for survival and social standing. It seems more a function of how much you want rather than how much you have.
Right.
There are people who don't have much, but they are so free and cool, and not just devotees, even non-devotees. I see like that. They have very little, and I'm anxious looking at their life, but they are not. They're like completely, you know, they don't seem to have any struggle, and
Wow.
we see that there, Krishna somehow or other just maintains everybody. There is. Yeah, I'm thinking of a few examples which really like that. And I know from some of my friends who have a lot, they have, they're in excess and still they are like, they are stressed and their children are stressed and everybody is stressed because they feel that they're getting left behind and they're still competing. And this, so yeah, it, it seems to correlate more with um, I think the value they associate with those possessions rather than the possessions themselves.
It totally makes sense, bro. Yeah. Also, as you said, like there are so many cons which come with possessions, like so much anxiety of maintenance, fear of loss. So obviously there are those things as well. Yes. Gaur Kumar, bro, you can go ahead.
Yeah, mine is also slightly different, Prabhu. I feel
Okay.
that we should all have certain possessions.
Mhm.
Otherwise, our whole life will go in getting those possessions only. Like
Right.
I've seen a lot of people, especially in India, who are really struggling for money and like possessions, and because of that, they are not even thinking of Krishna or something higher. So I feel that some basic possessions is required.
Definitely.
So otherwise, it becomes a big struggle, actually. That's why they say, na, you have to, your grounding should be flat. Otherwise, you cannot raise your hands. Otherwise, if your ground is shaking, that is, if you don't have enough possessions, then
Right.
your hands will go down and start balancing yourself. So the only way you can raise your hands fully up is when the ground is stable, when your possessions are there. But I'm not saying that you should over possess, but I like what Manan Prabhu said about needs and wants. The basic needs is different for everybody, actually. For
Totally.
someone, a basic need could be a high-rise building in Manhattan, and it's a need. But so for someone, it could be just a hut. But so we can't generalize it and say that everyone should stay in a hut. If a person who wants a high-rise building stays in a hut, he'll be miserable, actually.
Mm.
So it's according to each person's need, I feel. Thank you. Hare
Yeah. That's a very nice answer, Prabhu. And I also think kind of that it also depends on where one is situated spiritually. Like someone like we cannot compare anyone to like our acharyas. They were at a completely elevated state. So if they are at that stage, like the Goswamis, they can easily like leave everything, leave their kingdoms and run towards Krishna. But
Yeah,
where we are, we should like from there, if we have the needs, we should be definitely take care of those needs. But again, we can be also aware simultaneously that I am not the one who is owning it. Krishna has given this to me, and I have to take care of this thing as a service to Krishna. And yeah, I think that kind of that does that make sense, Prabhu? Like
yes,
having
Prabhu.
that,
Yes,
yeah, yeah. Okay,
yes.
thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, yeah, Megha Mataji, you had your hand raised. Yeah,
Actually, Prabhu, great discussion. Like, so the needs versus wants, like, and I agree with both of like Manan Prabhu and Gaur Kumar Prabhu, and I think it really depends on like what your social status is, like whether you're struggling for your needs versus like you're struggling for your wants.
yeah,
Um, and I think I struggle a lot with recognizing my needs versus my wants.
mm,
And because like I'm in Vancouver, which is very expensive, right? Like, and then I want a good job, like I want a stable career, but at the same time, I feel like I always have an option of going back to India and live a very modest life. Like, and I feel like all of us in this group may have that option, but
right.
still to some level we choose, right,
Mm,
that we want to live in this part of the world for whatever reason. Then
correct.
how do we define want versus need, you know? Yeah, so I struggle a lot like with this.
Yeah, yeah. That is a very interesting. Yeah, like it's struggle. I think. Yeah, it's always there. Yeah. Yes, Suman Mataji, you want to go?
Hare Krishna, yes, interesting discussion. Actually, I've been reflecting on all of what has been said and from a different angles. And so what came to my mind is that grasthas, are supposed to support the family and the society. Uh,
Right.
Even in a devotee, if grasthas are devotees, going to the temple takes a certain amount of money. You need a car, you need warm clothes, or some level of material standing. So can we totally really, is it possible really to detach from materials totally? You know, I know Gaur Kumar Prabhu said that. I mean, you need to have some materials possessions. How
Right.
attached you are, how you're using it. Uh, it how you're internalizing it. Are you saying that you own it forever? I can't be without it. That's a different thing, but you need to
Right.
have materials, right? Possessions. Uh,
Definitely.
so just saying the materials are bad, it would be deceiving yourself and others too, I think. Um, do you have materials? Are you helping the society, helping the family, or the needy with that? I was reading a book sometime back, Anthony Robbins. He said that he has abundance of materials, but he still works because he is feeding millions of hungry. So if we say that working is bad because for material gain, is it really bad? You know, I also struggle with this with this sentence that material is bad, possessions are bad. So what are we doing with these possessions? What are we doing with this material possessions? I think it may depend on that. I know there are a lot of um, saints also come and say the same thing. Materials are bad. Then I listen, of course, but inside the story runs. That is it really bad? I'm here to listen to the satsang because I had a car to come to this place.
Right.
I need to have it, otherwise I can't, right? I need a home, warm home. There's a lot of bills that come every month to keep the home warm.
Totally.
You go to work, right, for those. So I also struggle with these some of these statements. I don't know how to where the sweet spot is. How do we take it? I still work. I know recently I said, okay, I should stop working now, and said, no, what else would I do other than, okay, I can spend 2 hours in chanting. Other than that, what would I do? So these kind of thoughts run all day. That should I stop working? Should I continue working? What am I doing with it? Do I need that money? What do I do with it? I mean, I think all of us have those thoughts and the thoughts in our minds, but it also depends on how we evolve. At some point, it was like all mine, gather it, collect it. But as we evolve, we start thinking differently, right? Are you doing something for the society? Are you doing something beyond yourself?
Yeah.
So it's evolution, right? It's evolution that happens, and then you start making sense that, okay, why are we working? Why we need to continue to work? Can I do something that helps the society or the community? Um, so yeah, I mean, sometimes thought comes, just when I listen to some of the satsangs, people I listen to, a lot of negativity about material. I mean, it's about to maintain the body itself, like in this country, Swati.
Yeah.
You need to have have minimum requirements. Minimum requirements means certain $1,000 a month you need to earn to maintain your body itself, right?
Totally.
Not this little hut you can live in here. So yeah, I struggle also just like anybody else to some of these statements that I hear from. I mean, even the same people who come here that material is bad ask for donations. If we're not working, if you're not striving for that, how do we give donations? So I struggle there as well.
Yeah. But that's very relatable, Mataji. Yeah, thank you for being like so honest and opening up all of these things. Yeah, I think I'm at no position to really like advise you on any of this, but I think uh, the way I look at it is like you're using your car for going to a satsang, going to a class. That itself is like a great service. So it's not like you have to give up that car, but if you're using it in service of the Lord, then that is perfect in itself. And everything like whatever is given to us, as long as we are just keeping the awareness that we are not going to own this forever, and Krishna has handed this to us temporarily so that we can take care of it as a caretaker and use it in the service. I think it's fine. But again, this sounds like theoretically this sounds great, but I'm sure like applying this practically, I'm nowhere near to speak about it. So if anyone else would like to add anything. Right. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, Prabhu, one
Yeah,
thing,
yeah. Go ahead, Mataji. Yeah.
very short point. Like this was a great reminder actually. So the need versus want, right? Like
Right.
finding the fine balance. And the framework that in the past has helped me is the Enneagram that God Kumar Prabhu introduced me to, because it's like, asking Arjun to take sannyasa, but he was a kshatriya. So I guess probably that can help us identify our needs, so to say, and maybe that's why it's different for different people. It's not straightforward.
Very true. Yeah, very true. For everyone, like depending on where they are spiritually in the journey and what their needs are, it's going to be different. Yeah, very true. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, so I think we are thank you for this beautiful discussion on this particular question. I had another question very similar, so I'll skip that. Uh, and depending on how much time we have, I just wanted to focus on a few more things before we end this class, like also on like how Krishna himself kind of takes away things from devotees, and kind of also Krishna, we know that Krishna is like stealer of hearts, he's stealer of uh, the makan, he's stealer of clothes of gopis, as it is described in Chaurashtakam. So and it is also described that how he steals things, like he takes away like material opulences from his devotees and makes them beggars at times. And that also kind of like raises questions within us. Okay, then should we be scared of Krishna if he is making people like making his devotees without any opulences or without any material possessions? So I just wanted to talk on that a little bit, that there are a few examples. We know the story of Bali Maharaj. For Bali Maharaj, he came as Vaman Dev and he took away his everything. Like he Bali Maharaj himself owned all the three worlds, but he was also that much detached that when the Lord himself came as Vamandev and asked for it, he happily gave it away. So that shows like even though he was with all the possible possessions, he did not really have any possessions in that sense because he was not attached to any of it. So he gave away all of that readily. And then further, we know that when when he gave everything, Bali Maharaj still had that slight pride that he could keep the promise and he could give everything to the Lord. And then that was again a possession which he had because he had given up everything, but that was the only possession which he still kept. And Lord wanted to take that away as well. That's why he bound him up and took his honor away. He was insulted, and further he was every. And then finally, when nothing was left, then Krishna accepted him. Then again, he awarded him with one this entire Sutal Lok, which was as glorious as heaven, or actually more glorious than heaven. And then he himself, Lord, awarded himself to his devotee. He himself became the Dwarpal for uh, Bali Maharaj. So we can see in this is kind of like little bit similar to Avanti Brahmana, where Lord took away everything first till that realization happened, and then he awarded him for, in this Bali Maharaj's case, he awarded him many things later. And so this was one example, and then there is one very contrasting example to this. That is the story of Sudama Brahman. In Sudama Brahman's case, he was already without any material possessions at all. And then the he went to the Lord, and even while going to the Lord, he did not have the desire of asking things from him. Only because his wife had sent, he went there, and he did not actually end up asking anything. He just came back, and out of his mercy, Lord awarded him beautiful things. Like when he came back to his city, he saw a beautiful palace, and his wife was decked up as a goddess. His house was filled with all material opulences. And when he saw that, he felt like he wanted to run away from there, and he did not wanted to accept. He thought he will get bound in these material opulences and he should run away from this. But in this scenario, he again had the realization that Krishna wants him to accept this. And Krishna also had seen this subtle pride within him, which was the pride of being a renunciate. attached to attached to detachment, in a way we can say. And that's why Krishna wanted him to accept all of this as well. And that's why that then he happily accepted it, and he lived in the house, not really like being the controller, being the owner of the wealth, but in his case it was literally given to him by Krishna. So he literally stayed there as a caretaker, not attached, and also not running away from it. He stayed where Krishna wanted him to stay, serving nicely and taking care of everything as something gifted by Krishna. So yeah, I just wanted to show that subtle things like Krishna, he does take away things, takes away material possessions of the devotees, but it can be completely different for different devotees. For someone, he's literally taking away material possessions, and for someone to take away their some like pride or like emotional possessions, he might award them wealth as well. So there is no like this one formula, but in general what we can see is devotees are without possessions because Krishna is taking away from them what is stopping them from going closer to Krishna. So it could be having a lot of wealth or not having a lot of wealth. But the main thing is connecting back to Krishna. And yeah, that's the thing. And I wanted to end this kind of like as we are getting towards the end. I also wanted to just quickly mention about this great devotee who is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now he doesn't fall in any of the categories where the Lord wanted to take things away or the Lord could give things to him. So this was the great devotee Khulavecha Sridhar. He was without any possessions at all, and still he was living very peacefully. He was living in a thatched hut. During the rainy season water would fall, and he would stay happily over there with whatever conditions he had, and he would just sell banana leaves, and whatever wealth he got out of it, he would use half of it to worship Mother Ganga, as he saw like Mother Ganga being a pure devotee. And in whatever wealth was left, he would use it for his welfare. And this young Nimai, Mahaprabhu, would go to his stall where he was selling banana leaves, other parts of banana plants, and go and keep bargaining that I want less price, I want half price. And Kolavecha Sridhar would also argue with him daily. And finally, many times he would just take it for free. And this would go on and on. And in reality, he would never get angry, Khulaveja Sridhar, but he would actually be very happy just seeing the form of the Lord. And he would experience a lot of spiritual bliss. And in the Mahaprakash Leela, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed his divine form, particularly called Kolavecha Sridhar. And because of his great sincerity, he wanted to award the eight siddhis to him. That way he could live any perfection of life. But he did not want any of that, so he rejected it. Then Mahaprabhu further offered him liberation from birth and death. But he even rejected that. Kulavecha Sridhar said, I am happy the way I am. And then Mahaprabhu said, you need to ask me something. You need to ask me something. Then he said, I always want to be the servant of that Brahmana who comes at my shop to bargain. So I just daily want to serve his lotus feet lifetime after lifetime. That's all I want. So yeah, so it's very interesting to see that these devotees are completely without material possessions, but the only possession they have is the love of the Lord. And Lord is their only possession, which is giving them a lot of happiness. Yeah, and with that, I'd like to end the class as it's 10 p.m. So yeah, thank you everyone. And sorry if I said anything wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful. This was such a great class, and exactly as I had hoped, and I was expecting it to be so nice and deep and thought-provoking as well as nourishing at the same time. And yeah, you have a knack, Prabhu. You've developed a knack for asking the right questions that ignites something in everybody's head, and then everybody starts, contemplating. beginning from the very first one, right? I was thinking, I said passport and everything. Why didn't I say my beads, initiation beads? That is such an important thing. That is, in one sense, more important than passport and all those things.
I think it will be hanging around your neck, Prabhu, so you don't have to think.
So, yeah, it just every question that you asked was very nicely, and that's that one slide I liked a lot. How from this to that, from this, stewardship instead of, sorry, gratitude instead of entitlement, stewardship instead of those four or
Control.
five points. That was beautiful. Yeah, thank you very much for doing this, and yeah, really grateful to you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for
Uh,
giving
uh,
the opportunity.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this was such a powerful class. You made us think, you made us reflect on things, and then you also gently got us to participate. And by participating, we are, we are, you kind of awakened us. And this was such a powerful class, one of the best classes that I've attended. And you really have a knack of bringing all of us together and getting us to understand this in a very gentle way. I love your style. It's a very gentle style. It is unassuming, and it makes us feel naturally attracted to the material that you're serving us. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. I'll try to not associate any of this with my false ego. Thank you, bro.
Amazing class, Soham Prabhu. I liked all the examples that you gave, Avanti Brahman, Kulavecha Sridhar, Sudama Vipra, and also how nicely you engaged all of us with your very thought-provoking questions. Brilliant class, Prabhu. It was completely, you captured our attention for like 1.5 hours. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. You can end the class.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
Dashak
कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां
पावनेभ्यो
पावनेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
नमः
नमः अनंत
अनंत
कोटि
कोटि
वैष्णव वृंद की जय
वैष्णववृंद
श्रील
की जय
प्रभुपाद की
श्रील
जय
प्रभुपाद की जय
His Grace Soham Prabhu की जय